Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Tennessee enters 2021 with their 5th head coach since 2008. And the fans aren't loving it. Josh Heupel comes in trying to turn things around, but everyone has to understand it's going to take some time. So guys, welcome back again to the Gridiron Expert, here to predict and analyze Tennessee's schedule and record for this 2021 college football season. As always, make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Sign up for those today before the season starts. First picks come out on August 25th. And also make sure to check out Prize Picks. Use our link and promo code GRIDIRON over there, and we will become your own personal fantasy football consultant. So make sure to go take a look at both of those, again, down in the description below. So we take a look at Tennessee, guys, a program that every year has lofty expectations. They expect to win. They want to compete for SEC titles. They want to compete for national titles, and that's something they haven't done since the 90s. Tennessee has not had a double-digit win season since 2007. They've had 8 losing seasons since that double-digit win season. That includes last year, where the Volunteers started 2-0, lost 6 straight games, all of those by double digits. 6 of their final 7, we should add, every single one by double digits. Things have to change. They're hoping that Josh Heupel is the guy that's going to start turning this program around. But like we said earlier, it's going to take time. Don't expect immediate success in year 1. Because look at the offense. Everybody loves the Josh Heupel hire because of how great his offenses were at UCF. He can maybe bring that over to Tennessee, but don't expect it to be implemented in year 1. Jeremy Pruitt left the cupboard pretty bare offensively for Tennessee. Their top wide receiver, Josh Palmer, is gone, graduated. So was one of their top offensive linemen, and Trey Smith. Ty Chandler, Eric Gray, their 2 running backs, gone, transferred out. Quarterbacks, gone, transferred out. The offensive line has Cade Mays and Darnell Wright, but what else? Who else to bolster that offensive line? 2 great tackles. What about everybody else? And the major question is quarterback. Who plays it for Tennessee? Will it be the Virginia Tech transfer in Hendon Hooker, a guy who threw for over 2,800 yards and 22 touchdowns in the last 2 years with the Hokies? Also has dual threat capabilities. Will it be Joe Milton, transferring in from Michigan? Will it be Harrison Bailey, who has experience with the program already? All could fit and thrive in Heupel's offense. The question is, who will he choose? And who will their weapons be? Who will they be able to throw the ball to? That's the big question for Tennessee. Heupel's known as being a great offensive mind. He's got to have the talent to do it. Same can be said for defense, guys. They lose a lot of star power. They lose star players. And we all know that Josh Heupel was never really known for defense at UCF. And you look at Tennessee's stats, it's a major concern for them going into 2021. First off, they lose their star linebacker in Henry To'oTo'o, transferred out to Alabama. The Volunteers last year allowed 30.1 points per game. They gave up 265.8 passing yards per game. That was 106 in the country. Again, Heupel, not known for his defenses during his time with UCF. He does have a couple stars this year, though. Alontae Taylor leading the secondary that I think could very well be the strength of this defense. The defensive line bolstered by Matthew Butler. There's talent there, for sure. It's just a matter of whether or not they can improve on the stats that they had last year. And, of course, poor stats at that. We take a look at Tennessee's schedule, guys. It's favorable. It's manageable. It is possible for the Volunteers to go bowling. And I know many Tennessee fans out there are going to say, of course we're going bowling. We're going to win 8 or 9 games. That's not going to happen. But a bowl game is in the cards. It is possible for that to happen. So we're going to take a look at their schedule and see if they can do that. We think they open up with a win against Bowling Green. Shouldn't be much of an issue for the Volunteers. They're 1-0. They get their first true test in week 2 at home, we should add, at Neyland Stadium against Pittsburgh. Now, a major question for this game is, can Tennessee's offense keep up and succeed against a Pittsburgh defense that year in and year out has been one of the best in the country, last year ranking 3rd versus the run and 20th overall? Not to mention that the Panthers also returned their star quarterback in Kenny Pickett, star running back in Vincent Davis, star wide receiver in Jordan Addison. Their offense is really starting to get going under Mark Whipple. Now look at this game, guys. I don't know if Tennessee's offense, in week 2 especially, can exploit this Pittsburgh defense. I don't even know if Tennessee's defense can stop this Pittsburgh offense. They're not one of the best in the country by any means. No. Not even one of the best in the ACC, but they're good enough. The talent is there. I believe that Pittsburgh genuinely owns all the edges in this game with the exception of home field advantage, and I believe that Pat Narduzzi's squad can overcome that. I think Tennessee drops the game against the Panthers in week 2. They are 1-1. Of course, we do think they'll defeat Tennessee Tech, so they are 2-1, and then boom, SEC play. Here we go. Close out September with a road game at Florida. They fell to the Gators 31-19 last year. Got that late score in there to make the game look a little bit closer than it really was, but still, relatively speaking, held their own against one of the best offenses in the country in Dan Mullen and the Gators. We know that Florida loses a lot. We know they lose Kyle Trask and Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Toney and Trayvon Grimes. And we know that Florida's defense was so bad last year, which all the more reason to say that if Josh Heupel can get this offense going, if he can start working some miracles, maybe have this team ahead of schedule, maybe they can put some points up against Florida. Maybe they can put some points up and beat teams that maybe they shouldn't. But this game is in the swamp, guys. We have to keep that in mind here. This is a tough environment to play. Tennessee, over the last decade, 2 decades or so, really hasn't had much success against the Gators. They're not going to have it in the swamp. Everybody wants to say Florida's going to become irrelevant. They're not. Their RPO-style offense with Emory Jones at quarterback will be just fine, and they will take down the Volunteers. Tennessee 0-1 in conference play, 2-2 overall. They then go on the road to take on Missouri. The Volunteers beat Missouri 35-12 last year in week 2 of the season, their second SEC game of the year. That was their second win, and they fell in 6 straight contests after that. And this is a Missouri team, guys, that surprised a lot of people last year, going 5-5 in year 1 under Eli Drinkwitz. Also a Missouri team that I felt got better as the year went on. I had laid a few eggs here and there, a blowout loss in Mississippi State, a couple other games here and there that they didn't perform well. They had 5 losses, all came by 19 points or more. They had a couple quality victories in there as well. And I look at this Missouri team. Their star quarterback, Connor Bazelak, returns. I think their defense takes a minor step forward. And again, we don't exactly know what to expect from Tennessee's offense in 2021. What are going to be their strengths? And when you look at that and say, okay, that's their strength, they can exploit this poor part of another team's defense. We don't know what to expect. Heupel wants to throw the ball. We do know that. But again, we don't know who their quarterback's going to be, and we don't really have much faith in their weapons surrounding the quarterback as of right now. So the road game at Missouri, the Tigers' home field advantage. Right now, I'm going to give them the edge at quarterback and Connor Bazelak. I'm going to give them maybe a slight defensive edge as well. They're going to have more continuity, consistency with a second-year head coach and returning players versus Tennessee and what they're dealing with Josh Heupel. So Tennessee falls to Missouri, second straight conference loss. They are 2-3. This game against South Carolina on October 9th is huge for so many reasons, guys. I mean, first off, get a conference win under your belt. Get yourself back up to 500. And if you want to go bowling, if you're Tennessee, you need to win your winnable games at home. This is their first conference game at home, and it absolutely is winnable. South Carolina is a team they actually beat 31-27 on the road last year. And like South Carolina, or like Tennessee, South Carolina is dealing with a brand new head coach in Shane Beamer. So a lot of big questions surrounding South Carolina right now, too. They've got really one talented offensive player in Kevin Harris, one of the best running backs in the SEC. Outside of that, don't really know. Quarterback Luke Doty's mediocre. His surrounding talent is very questionable. So Tennessee's game plan coming into this game has to be stop Kevin Harris. Tennessee allowed 141.6 rushing yards per game. That was actually good for 5th in the SEC. So the rushing defense, not too bad. You stop Kevin Harris, you win the game. And I said in our South Carolina video that I felt these two teams were relatively similar. And in games that I almost view as 50-50 games, I like to give the edge to the team that has the home field advantage. That's Tennessee. The Volunteers will beat South Carolina again. They shut down Kevin Harris. The home crowd plays a huge role. Heupel gets his first SEC victory, and Tennessee is 3-3 going into another home game against Ole Miss. And I'll tell you right now that I do think the Volunteers drop this game. I'll just break it to you quickly. A major reason for that is because of Ole Miss's offense. Everybody wants to criticize the Rebels' defense, and this is a game that if, again, Heupel's offense takes off, if Heupel's offense starts to succeed, this is a game that could turn into a shootout because of how good Ole Miss's team is, especially their offense, and how poorly Ole Miss's defense is. If Tennessee can exploit that defense, Ole Miss can do the exact same to the Volunteers. But I do think that Ole Miss's defense improves, not drastically, not from one of the worst in the country, one of the worst in the SEC to one of the best, but enough to get a few extra wins on their record. We're not expecting an offensive drop-off at all. This was a 7th-ranked passing attack in the nation last year. The star quarterback behind that attack, Matt Corral, returns. One of the top running backs in the SEC, Jerrion Ealy, returns. Lane Kiffin facing off against Tennessee, can't ask for anything better than that, storms back into Neyland, where he's certainly going to be welcomed with tons of cheers and applause, I'm sure, and Ole Miss will win this game. And I do feel very confident in that. The Ole Miss's offense will simply just be too much. Of course, we do believe that Tennessee will fall to Alabama. The Volunteers have lost 14 straight to the Crimson Tide. They fell 48-17 to them last year. The majority of those 14 have not been very close at all. Maybe 2, 3 by one possession? 2, 3 where you thought maybe Tennessee could get the win? Again, it's not going to happen this year, especially not in Tuscaloosa. Tennessee drops another conference game. So they only have one conference win. They're 1-4 in conference play, and they come out of their bye week into the month of November, a big month of November at that. A big month of November because, again, the talent seems to maybe be there. The schedule seems to maybe be there to go bowling, but Tennessee only has 3 wins. They're going to have to win 3 of their final 4 to go bowling, and one of those games is against Georgia. So really the winnable games are Kentucky, South Alabama, and Vanderbilt. When they come out of their bye week to take on a good Kentucky team. A Kentucky team that Tennessee lost to at home last year, 34-7. They committed 4 turnovers, 2 pick sixes for the Wildcats. Do I think that Kentucky is going to force 4 more turnovers and have 2 more pick sixes? No. But the game is in Lexington. Kentucky last year owned the number 1 passing defense in the SEC last year. Expected to be relatively similar this year. It doesn't bode well for an offense that Josh Heupel hopes will start airing it out a lot more and hoping to succeed through the air. I think Kentucky's defense flexes their muscles a little bit. They shut down Tennessee just like they did last year. I'm not saying they win by 27, but again, with home field advantage back on their side, with Chris Rodriguez back, with Kentucky having a capable quarterback now and Will Levis, everything to me points to a Kentucky victory, and we're going to give them that. Tennessee drops that game. They then drop the game to Georgia. Of course, the Georgia game to me is very much like the Alabama game. Those are your top 2 teams in the SEC right now. The Bulldogs and the Crimson Tide, and Tennessee, to me, is not going to stand a chance against either. They fell to the Bulldogs 44-21 last year. That was the game that actually started their 6-game losing streak in the middle of the season. Georgia guy simply is too good. Pick any sort of position, Georgia's loaded. Quarterback with JT Daniels. Running back with Zamir White. They've got great pass catchers, solid offensive line. The secondary has improved drastically with their transfers. They had the number 1 rushing defense in the nation last year. Georgia is simply too good, even though the game is in Neyland Stadium, even though it is in Knoxville. We're going to give the edge to Georgia, a big edge. So with that, Tennessee cannot go bowling. Tennessee, even if they win their final 2 games, will not go bowling. And they have now dropped, in our eyes, 4 straight games. We do believe they defeat South Alabama. Brand new head coach in Kane Womack, the former defensive coordinator at Indiana, is now the head coach at South Alabama. So it should be a fun game here. But we do think Tennessee wins. And we do think they will beat Vanderbilt. So yet another SEC conference victory. They beat the Commodores 42-17 last year. Like the South Carolina game, Tennessee is facing off against a new head coach. Clark Lee, the former Notre Dame defensive coordinator, is now the head coach for the Commodores. But Vanderbilt, we believe, is the worst team in the SEC this year. Got a lot of work to do. Talented quarterback in Ken Seals, there's promise there. But the defense, again, was one of the worst in the country, one of the worst in the conference, and will be once again until Lee can get his players in there, really implement his system, and hopefully start to turn things around down in Nashville. But the game at Neyland Stadium, senior night at that, Tennessee wins this game against the Commodores. They are 5-7 to end 2021. Now, I will say this for you Tennessee fans. There are 2 games on this schedule that I could really maybe see turning into victories. 2 games that I have pegged as losses that I wouldn't be surprised to see turn into wins. And that is the Pittsburgh game in week 2. And maybe even the Ole Miss game. Maybe even the Ole Miss game on October 16th. Those are 2, to me, toss-up games, even though I feel very confident in both. 2 games at home for Tennessee that could very well be flipped from a loss to a win. If just one of those happens, Tennessee is going bowling. And again, many of you aren't going to be thrilled with 5-7. Many of you wouldn't be thrilled with 6-6. You've had 8 losing seasons since 2007. You haven't had a double-digit win season since 2007. You went 3-7 last year, and you're dealing with a brand new head coach with tons of questions on both sides of the ball. There is no reason to believe that Tennessee all of a sudden is going to turn into a major SEC title contender in 1 year. In 1 year with a new head coach. The last 5 head coaches couldn't do it. Why is Josh Heupel going to be any different, at least in his first year? He could be the man down the road. I do have a lot of faith in him. I love his style. I think in time, it's really going to pay off for Tennessee. But it's not in his first year. It is not in his first year. We do have the Volunteers going 5-7 and just barely missing out on the postseason in 2021. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at The Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. And also make sure to check out everything down in the description below. Sign up for those expert picks over on thegridironexpert.com. Sign up for them today before the season starts, just a few weeks out from the start of college football season. Make sure to check out Prize Picks and sign up for everything down there so we can become your fantasy football consultant. Do not miss out on that. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on The Gridiron Expert.